This is the 5th level. I just have to say none of the other levels have this steam part here, and it actually doesn't affect the frame rate at all when I'm playing the game. Even now, though the recording might have some frame rate issues, the game itself has none. But that was thoroughly tested, and I like this little blend that it offers. You can see the spawner here is spawning at a rate which doesn't allow us to stay here, while it gives us progressively less and less points, so that it doesn't let us camp this spot and just jack up the score. While the timer also, this is our game concept, the timer also deducts more and more. Second. You can hear the soundtrack as well as the sound effects, which I designed, though other members had their hand in tweaking the ratio, the proportion of how they were implemented in the very game. They were maximized according to industry standards. Sort of a loudness wars maximization, like compression, which is to say an absolute maximum of audible and spatial imaging. The only thing I'm not pleased with is this yellow shot. If I had more time, I would have made that one perfect as well. This elevator is another thing I coded. It's based on parenting. It's all a vertical slice solution. These spinning platforms, rotating platforms, which shouldn't let the player hang around that much. You see that it's hard to stay on them. So it emphasizes the platforming skills as well as bullet hell dodging and shooting skills. So another thing I coded and debugged and built into the Unity engine that requires all the technical skills is this dash feature. It all looks way easier than it is to code and implement. For instance, the hardest thing was to make the player stop before it hits certain objects, especially downward. This is the maximum I could get out of it in a short amount of time. Let's not go there. That's the boss room. The maximum I could get out of it in a short amount of time when it comes to downward motion is this. It needs to stop here unless, which is acceptable to me. I'm pretty pleased with what I did. It took quite a bit of time to tweak these sound effects. I might sound effects like this, for instance. It's got a lot of bass, and it's supposed to depict this powerful wipe mechanic that we have, which wipes away all the bullets which are moving towards the player. So I wanted it to sound like a lot of air is being a lot of air is being blown, which I managed, but many would underestimate the complexity of such a task and the skill required to tweak it all and maximize it and make it fit into the entire audio spectrum of the game. Many sounds were tried out and tested for quite a long time. This door sound, for instance, is several sounds blended together and some of them reversed. You can hear the cyan mobs emitting randomized sounds, which makes them sound a bit like R2-D2. But each time they emit a different sequence, each time they're hit. They emit a different sequence, whereas these other mobs emitted different sounds. The only thing I'm not pleased with is this yellow loop. Oh, that is a door opening somewhere, this one. The yellow sound is an incredibly... Oh, you can hear the health pickup, the health power up. These spinning platforms, as I said, were also my task, and my level is the only one that has this sort of dynamic, or as people say, mechanic, although it's a dynamic, where the mob is attached to one of these. So that's an extra difficulty, level of difficulty in navigating these and staying on top of them. We said these elevators are also something that took quite a bit of skill to tweak based on distance that the player is the distance between the player and the platform. These are the two final bosses. With them the vertical slice of the game ends. And both of them are my prototypes, which were accepted by the team, and then mesh models were created for them, and I really like the prototypes. So it's a sort of my prototype. You see this homing sphere. It's not a homing missile. I wanted homing missiles, and I wanted clouds of them, like anime style. Like I created some homing missiles, but they weren't perfect. Then me and the lead programmer worked for some time on them, but it wasn't the topmost priority. Oh my god, I died. And now I'm going to play through the level as a player should, as envisioned by our team, where the most important thing is to not hang around too long. Time is the most important factor. Of course, dodging all this bullet hell is also very important because it lets you keep enough, lets the player keep enough health. These moving platforms, they can move sideways as well, is something I caught it as well, and it wasn't the easiest of tasks. With the parenting and distance measuring that I needed to do, the distance between the player and the platform is important because that's when the unparenting happens. This is the final boss room. We didn't have an unlimited amount of time to tweak all this, but I'm really pleased with the labor of the entire team, especially our lead programmer, Tim Yalvelov, with whom I worked on a lot of mechanics. So these two bosses are my prototypes. They were accepted and then made into mesh, though I really like the prototypes themselves, the visuals of them. And they mostly follow my idea. For instance, these homing spheres that you can see were supposed to be clouds of anime style mushroom clouds, whatever they're called, no, clouds of anime style homing missiles, and I made some homing missiles, but they weren't the best. Then we tweaked them for quite a while. I made them real quick to present as a possibility to the team, and they weren't this is an anti-climax that we didn't manage to solve. Sometimes this would be a very difficult part, but not every time that one plays it. So this is just a pass. It's not even a good score. Hope I managed to display some of my work on this level.